Hi, good evening. For Spanish speakers, if you can, I will do the announcement in Spanish to identify those Spanish speakers. Buenas tardes, para los de habla hispana, si me levanta su mano, le puedo dar equipo de interpretación para esta reunión. Thank you.
So if you don't know, it's Happy National Dog Day. This is Iggy and Mila. They are my two COVID puppies. So I thought, they deserve that shout out. They get to see me campaigning and do all that lovely working from home. So how many of you all have pets, dogs? Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. So hi everyone, I'm Jessica Prosser. I'm the Director of Housing and Community Services. And I'm just going to briefly talk about the second flyer that I handed out and the one that's on the screen now, related to some of the options or ideas that we've come up with around housing and homelessness with our ARPA funds. So if you haven't heard about ARPA, the city is receiving about $65 million through the Stimulus Act that has came out this spring, and we're starting to prioritize that funding. The exciting part is yesterday we kicked off our community engagement process for that, and we're going to be seeking input from the community. So you're one of the first in-person and public meetings that we're promoting our public engagement around ARPA funds. So we just talked about the housing strategy. We got together and we said we have 3-4 years to spend this money. Where would we put it to be most impactful, to make an impact on creating new units of affordable housing and impacting those experiencing homelessness in our community? So these three options are here. I'm going to run through really quickly, and then I'm going to transition to Carice, who actually has the survey for the community to take regarding what we spend our funds on. All that's going to get bundled up together and given back to our city council to look at in about a month. So 3 things that we've come up with through conversations with our service providers, with our housing strategy as kind of our overall platform, and just from a staff level what we're hearing. One is a new homeless services campus that would include day shelter, it would include overnight shelter. Right now we have about 600 people that are unhoused in our community and about 150 beds every night on a non-cold weather emergency night. It could include permanent supportive housing, it could include a safe outdoor space. As part of that, which would be a very low barrier type of shelter for folks that aren't even ready to come inside. This is obviously driven by some of our just overwhelming amount of need, and then also a lot of complaints around encampments. The next piece is around alternative sheltering options. So we know it's going to take a few years to build a new brick and mortar facility, and so what do we do in the meantime to make an impact? So the idea here is to put some funding together related to additional safe outdoor spaces. This could be tents, it could be kind of tiny homes, it could be just safe parking. We're piloting 2 sites right now operating in Aurora. We have one in the Salvation Army up around 33rd in Oakland, which is in this district. The Salvation Army is hosting that. We have about 30 tents out there. It's full. People are really liking it. I was out there on Tuesday. They're getting people housed. They've had several success stories, and they've only been open for about 45 days. We also have a pilot safe parking site over at Restoration Christian Fellowship. This is a faith-based partnership, and we're very interested in expanding some of our faith-based partnerships in the city. So we're looking for other areas. If anybody has ideas, this would be a way that's cheaper and faster to get people into something safe in the interim until we build something larger, brick and mortar. The last piece would be community investment financing. Rodney briefly touched on it. This would be infusing more dollars into our community investment process for more affordable housing and preservation of affordable housing. So you're going to hear from Elevations, I think, in a minute or so, and that would be one model that we could choose from that's more of a for sale model, but we could also use it for rent. So those are the top 3 things that we've kind of come up with. We're looking for feedback, we're looking for ideas from the community on how we spend these funds. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carice, who is going to talk a little bit more about ARPA funding and the community engagement around it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carice Canales, and I'm the Community Engagement Manager at the City of Aurora. And as Jessica mentioned, we are starting this community engagement process process around these ARPA federal relief funds to help us to recover as a community from COVID-19. And so I'm really excited to share the survey with you tonight. You are our first in-person engagement. And so really the goal of this process is for us as a city to hear directly from our residents, what are your biggest needs? What would make the biggest impact on your lives with this infusion of federal aid dollars? And we want you to dream big and tell us what your visions are for the community. So we did create this short survey on Engage Aurora, and this is our online community engagement platform. And I'm just curious in the room, who has heard of Engage Aurora so far? Oh, a good amount of you, that's great. We just launched it in February of this year, so it's a new platform where you can really find out what kinds of projects or topics are being discussed in your city and give us feedback. We want your input in all of our decision-making processes. So for this project, we have a 9-question survey, and we have with us paper copies as well, and they're translated in some of the top languages in Aurora. And so if you or someone you know has a different language preference, we really want to work with you and hear from all members of our community, so please don't hesitate. And also because you are our first in-person engagement, we want to make it a little fun. So if you, I'll get to you 1 second.
Okay.
If you do fill out the survey today, we have some gift cards to raffle out. So I encourage you to do that. I did have a question.
Can this be taken online?
Yes, so if
Can you
you,
repeat the question?
the question was if this can be taken online. And if you go to engageaurora.org/ARPA, ARPA, you can do the survey online, and on that platform, it also uses Google Translate, so you can use any language that Google has on there to translate the survey. And we do encourage you, if you have that ability, take it online, but we will be out in the community over the next month, coming to all sorts of events and meetings with our paper copies and any presentations, so we can answer questions from you. And I do have another question.
I do. I heard like every day in the news about these $46 billion that the federal government has allocated for people that are struggling paying the rent. I would like to know how the city is doing with that, because I noticed, or what I heard, that the problem was that this money was allocated without any infrastructure in order to distribute it. I would like to know how the city is doing on that.
Do you want me to start with that, or?
The question.
So the question was, with the federal aid disbursement, there's an interest to know how the city's going to prioritize those funds and how we're doing as a community. So this is the first step in that process.
No, we've allocated a ton.
Okay.
Is this, I think what you're talking about, I don't know, can I get really close to your mouth? So, I think you're talking about the Department of Treasury money for specifically for rental assistance, and that's a separate pot of money from this $65 million. And so the city started rental assistance back in May of 2020, but we got that Department of Treasury money in January of 2021, and we have been allocating it quite a bit. We've served, 4,000 households, I think, at this point, and we partnered with the state. So that's separate money, and we are deploying it, and it was a push to get it out quickly.
Right, thank you.
And then a follow-up.
And the city of Aurora is doing such a superb job that the Treasury is asking us what we're doing so well so that they can get best practices. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, to be honest,
Our team is doing an extraordinary job.
to be honest, I haven't heard a lot of complaints in the city of Aurora, so that's what I was asking, like,
Good, good.
we're not in the news, so she's doing something.
It's only negative.
Maybe do you mind just recapping that?
Yeah, I guess.
Yes, so a few of the comments that came in, we want you to know that the city of Aurora has already received a lot of these funds, especially with rental assistance, housing assistance, and are doing so well with dispersing those funds to our community that the Treasury Department is reaching out to us to ask how we're doing it so well. So that's a really great sign for us to be doing, so I really want to give a shout out to our housing team. And we do have another question.
This question is for Jessica. Jessica, where can people go online to apply for rental assistance and mortgage assistance? And also, I believe that you don't have to be a citizen to qualify to receive funds for rental assistance and mortgage assistance. So if you could give us, where do we go online to apply for that?
Yep, absolutely. So it's auroragov.org/rent assist, and that will get you straight to the rental assistance page. And there is some information about mortgage assistance on that page as well, the mortgage assistance being offered through the state. So that's the easiest way to get there.
So we do want you to start to prioritize, tell us what your biggest needs are, what would make the biggest impact on your life. And if you have any other ideas that we don't have listed, you can fill that in on the survey. If you're online at engageaurora.org/ARPA, there's an ideas board, so you can share your ideas for any other items that you want the city to consider. And we'll be collecting this feedback through October 8th. So you'll be seeing us a lot in the different social media and news, coming to different community events, because we do want to hear from all members of our community. Are there any other questions?
Just pause for a moment. As we mentioned, this is why it's good to have community feedbacks. Perhaps there might be some clarification needed in some of the terminology. I don't know if I would have known how to answer that particular question, but thank you, Alan, for that particular feedback. The people who need to hear that feedback are in the room, right? So they're the ones that are going to be able to make those kind of real-time changes. So again, thanks for being our testing group, both with the hybrid town hall as well as some of these materials we haven't yet put in front of people that often. So thanks there. I'm going to go ahead and do a time check. Do we have any other questions on this item? We have a couple of minutes. We have like 5 minutes. All right. Any last minute questions? Yes, I know you.
Yeah, so this is for you, Crystal, and Jessica.
Hey folks, for anyone who's listening virtually, we have time for just 1 or 2 questions, and I will repeat the question that'll be first.
Okay, so this is for Crystal and Jessica. So, question about using land that is owned by Aurora for camping. What's the deal? Are we going closer and closer to that, or are there legal issues? How do we navigate that, and what the heck is going on?
So we currently right now are doing a land inventory of all publicly owned land in the city for the purposes of both housing and any homelessness services. So right now we're kind of in the evaluation phase of what land we do own that could be used for something like that. Obviously, we're probably not going to take away a soccer field, or a drainage area would be appropriate. But we are looking into that right now.
So why is it?
I apologize, folks. I didn't repeat the question. The question was, is there any public land that the city is potentially considering to come up with housing solutions?
Camping.
Camping or otherwise.
So how come that's taking so long? We're already a year and a half into the pandemic, and you're still evaluating? How can it take so long? Who's pulling the levers here?
The question was, why is this taking so long?
Who's pulling the levers? Who can I talk to about this?
And additionally, who can this particular person speak with? It sounds like they have a really strong interest in solving some of our housing issues.
So we started working with our real estate team at the city just a couple months ago. So we were focused on other strategies for working with folks experiencing homelessness during the pandemic. We've had a lot of other solutions, including emergency shelters and things like that. And the safe outdoor space conversation really just started about 4 months ago. So we are working through that process, and then we're also talking with several other private and nonprofit landowners as well. And like I mentioned, we have 2 sites already that we're piloting out.
Okay.
Thank you, Jessica. Yes, Donna.
Where are these people right now? They have to be somewhere.
Are you talking about
Homeless
is your question?
people.
So the question is, where are folks
Yeah,
staying that
where?
are experiencing homelessness.
Yeah.
I
I know
mean,
where they are.
people experiencing homelessness, they're doubled up, they're living with family, they're sleeping in their cars, they're sleeping
seen
rough
that.
outside in encampments, they're staying at our shelter system.
Are
Those
there
are kind of,
shelters, places somewhere though, that they're camping out now? Like,
Salvation Army, right?
yeah,
yeah.
The question
for the
was,
safe outdoor space, the planned outdoor is, we do have the one over at the Salvation Army. Yep.
so the question was, you know, are there any current spaces that the city is pursuing when it comes to people experiencing homelessness? Jessica mentioned that we do have one site that is fully operational. There's been some success stories in getting folks out of that temporary emergency type space into permanent housing, which is really, it speaks to the data. We know that this is an evidence-based solution when it comes to addressing homelessness. So thank you. Virtually, for being in person, we have folks who, I think staff a couple of staff may be able to leave. I have to get going, but if any staff can hang out with our constituents to answer any questions. If you're on the list for the email sign-in, I'd be happy to follow up with additional, digital versions of some of the things we've talked about today. So thank you to our staff and everyone who was available. I forgot to give a shout out to our Chief Battalion from our fire department. Thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate having our first responders, emergency services present at our meetings. And I know our PAR officer couldn't be here. Actually, our police department had an award ceremony tonight. So, we give them a pass. I think they would have been here any other time. So thank you all for your patience, and I hope you have a good rest of your evening.